CQ RAYNET. This is Golf 4 November Romeo Charlie, operated today by Greg, Golf 0 Delta Uniform Bravo, serving as net control for the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net. This net meets each Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time and is open to all amateur operators interested in emergency communications. The primary purpose of the net is to provide the opportunity for members to test equipment, exchange traffic news, opinions and information, with additional information available on the RAYNET-UK website at www.raynet-uk.net. This is a directed net, which means all calls have to be made to that control station unless you are instructed otherwise, and all RAYNET-UK operators are invited and encouraged to check into the net. When you do check in, please announce your call sign slowly and phonetically, followed by your name. And if you wish to leave the net immediately after checking in, then please call in and out. Otherwise, if you want to leave after subsequent turns, then please make it clear you want to check out at that time. After I've heard a few check-ins, I'll repeat what I've heard. If you're not acknowledged, then please do try again, and I will call for any strays, that's people who've missed their turn, at the end of the UK and international sections. So, I'll now begin taking check-ins to the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net as usual in call sign number order. So any stations with figure 8 in their call sign wishing to check in, please do so now. This is G4 and RC.
Golf 8 Kilo Lima Charlie. Good afternoon, Rick.
Golf 8 Echo Yankee G8E. Name is Mike.
G4 and RC's got Phil, Golf 8 Kilo Lima Charlie, and Mike, Golf 8 Echo Yankee. Any other 8s, please? G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, anything else? Let's go for 7. Stations figure 7 in their call sign, please. G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, second call, any stations figure 7 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 and RC, over.
Mike 7, Alpha Victor Oscar. Good afternoon, Greg.
Mike 7, Alpha Victor Oscar. Good afternoon, Dave. Let's move on to the 6s. Stations figure 6 in their call sign, please. G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, second call, any stations figure 6 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, then it's the 5, stations figure 5 in their call sign, please. G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, still no risk of doubling with any 5s, so we'll move straight to the 4s. Stations figure 4 in their call sign, please. G4 and RC, over.
G4 KIL Philip South Sussex.
G4 KIL, good afternoon, Philip. Staying with me. Any other 4s, please? G4 and RC, over. Then it's stations figure 3 in that call sign, please. G4 and RC, over.
Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray. Ian, in and out, but I'm listening through to the end of the net. Golf 3 Victor Echo Hotel, G3VH, Chris in Winchester. No traffic, so in and out, but we'll be listening throughout the rest of the afternoon. Golf 3 Victor Echo Hotel.
GC returning. Okay, got it that time. G4NRC, acknowledged Ian, Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-ray, in and out, and Chris, Golf 3 Victor Echo Hotel, also in and out, but noticed you both got us right through. Okay, optimistically, any other threes? G4NRC, over. 4NRC, nothing heard, so it's 2, stations figure 2 in that call sign please, that includes you, intermediate 2's over.
2 Echo 0, Charlie Mike Sierra, calling from Midway.
2 Echo 0, Charlie Mike Sierra, good afternoon Colin. Just realised I'm confusing myself by going into the wrong hotspot, that's not going to help. So, good afternoon to you, staying with me. Any other 2's please? G4NRC, over. 4NRC, nothing heard, so let's have 1, stations figure 1 in their call sign please, G4NRC, over. 4NRC, second call, any stations figure 1 in their call sign, please go ahead, G4NRC, over. 4NRC, nothing heard, so it's quickly to the zeros. Let's go for Mike 0 stations, of any regional secondary identifier, please. This is G4NRC, over.
Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, Drew, West Devon.
Mike 0, Mike Andy, call in and out.
Mike 0, Whiskey X-ray Golf, Shirley, also in Cornwall, in and out. Thank you, Greg.
G4NRC, good afternoon, Drew. Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra staying with me. And Mike 0, India Tango, Mike Andy, and Mike 0, Whiskey X-ray Golf, Shirley, both in and out. Good afternoon to both of you. Any other Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please, over.
'n Mike India 0, Mike 0 Oscar, Philip, Road Maryland, and a night.
'Mike India 0, Mike Sierra Oscar, G4NRC. Good afternoon, Philip, and copied you in and out. Probably going to be listening for the first few minutes, though. Okay, let's go for Golf 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please. Call now. This is G4NRC, over.
Golf Whiskey 0, Juliet Lima X-ray. Good afternoon, Greg. Name is Andy, RAYNET Cambridgeshire. No traffic today, so in and out, please. Over.
G4NRC, good afternoon, Andy. Golf Whiskey 0, Juliet Lima X-ray acknowledged and copied as in and out, so 7 trees to you. Any other Golf 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please, over. G4NRC, nothing heard. So do we have any UK stations who missed their turn to call in? Any UK stations who missed their turn to call in? Please call now. This is G4NRC, over. G4NRC, then it's finally any international liaison stations, any of our international colleagues from Nordsamband of Norway, Aaron in Ireland, Aries in Slovakia, Aaron in Slovenia, any of our colleagues please, G4NRC, over. G4NRC, then a final call for anybody, UK or international. Last chance to call in before I start running down the list. Any final stations to call in for the RAYNET-UK weekly activity period, G4NRC, over. G4NRC, nothing heard. Okay. Right, good afternoon everybody. Today's net is being live streamed by Graham, G7NEH, to YouTube today. Live streams and recordings are available by searching G7NEH, that's Golf 7 November Echo Hotel on YouTube. Graham's not expected on the net today, as are some other people absent today because of Christmas celebrations starting early. So if somebody could keep an eye on the YouTube comments and relay anything, that would be appreciated. In more newsy news, we have had, or about to have, not one but two named storms this weekend, with storms Ellen and Fergus named by Met Aaron. Ellen caused Bristol RAYNET to be briefly on standby yesterday, while locally up here in the northwest it brought gusts of wind up to about 60 miles per hour at times, but thankfully no antenna damage reported. Ofcom this week announced they're proposing to update their existing resilience guidance to providers of public electronic telecommunications networks and services to comply with their security duties under some new legislation that came into force in October 22. The consultation also includes a separate call for inputs on power backup for mobile radio access networks. So the recognition of single-point failures and dependencies on electrical power, where we can have significant outages and disruption for customers, has been recognised, and Ofcom are wanting to see how much they can pass on to the industry and find out what the standard needs to be. That consultation runs through to next spring, so it looks like power loss lessons are starting to be learned, albeit a little slowly. The International Amateur Radio Union reports that progress has been made on the status of 23 centimetres at the World Radio Conference in Dubai this week, as proposed sharing criteria between ourselves and navigation services have been put into a footnote in the radio regulations, allowing local administrations to decide what to do to mitigate any interference between services. This is a much better output than some of the regulators were looking for, which would have seriously altered our access to the band. The problem isn't totally removed, though, in Europe, as work will continue within CPT, as they're still looking to get some protection for the Galileo navigation system, but the basic ground rules are at least now there in the footnote. So that's all I've got for the first round. Let's start at the top with Phil. Golf 8, Kilo Lima Charlie, G4, and I'll see you.
G4 and RC in the group, G8K RC. Not much bad, to be honest with you. We've not had severe bad weather last year. It's been a bit blowy once or twice, but no structural damage that I'm aware of. It's just been a bit cold and a bit damp, but otherwise there's no big problems. G4 NRC, G8 KLC, Lincolnshire.
G8 KLC, G4 NRC returning. Yep, we were on the southern edge of Ellen going through last night, so the 60 mile an hour gusts were not as bad as they probably were up in the Lancashire area. But yeah, the storms are pottering around. And in without Peter on EM1XCA, I can't have a go at the magnitude 2-point-something earthquake that hit Scotland yesterday. So there's more than bad weather kicking around at this time of year. But I don't think a magnitude 2 earthquake did much for Scotland at all. Okay, next to Mike, Golf 8, Echo Echo Yankee, G4 and RCO.
G4NRC from G8EY. Yes, well, the weather today in Norfolk is 9 centigrade, 995 millibars, 96% relative humidity, 75% cloud cover, and the winds have settled down to about 15 miles an hour for 207 degrees. Yes, a bit wet and windy. Well, I say that. We didn't get quite the same gusts, but we were certainly up into the 50 mile an hour last night. Certainly the gazebo at the local pub was basically dismantled. One or two things like that. We've had some inland flooding in villages as well, but nothing too extreme and no actual call-outs. Friday night we managed to squeeze the Norfolk County AGM in with a benchmark for the RAYNET-UK AGM to go to 44%, which is not bad for this sort of time of year and the weather. So that's about it. Glad to see that basically people are thinking about power outages. We've been talking about that to deaf ears in Norfolk for around about 20 odd years plus. But it's nice to see that people are now making a note of it. From G8EEY.
Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee, G4 and RC returning. Well, it's, as you say, it's been talked about for decades. Even when Ofcom decide to set what the resilience guidance is to stop single points of failure and power backup, re-engineering the thousands of cell phone masts around the country is going to take a few more years beyond that to actually happen. So I wouldn't expect massive change from the get-go somehow. But we shall wait and see, and thank you for giving me the hook to do the reminder to everybody that the reconvened national EGM and AGM are now scheduled to take place on Sunday, 7th of January 2024 at, I think it was 11:30 a.m. at the CSSC Sports and Leisure, Bristol, in Fulton Avenue, Hawfield, down in the city of Bristol. I'm going to change the wording on that one. Okay, Mike, thanks for the weather report. I've not got trouble marking the homework for logging today, so I'm kind of enjoying the lack of supervision. Next to Dave, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar, G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC, 7 Alpha Victor Oscar. Good afternoon, Greg. Good afternoon, everyone. We're great deal to report down here. As Greg's been saying, in Cheshire here, we seem to have missed most of the bad weather. Just caught the rain for the last few days. It's been raining heavily, but the winds haven't seemed to have done much damage as I've seen locally around here. The other thing that's been up to this week is I acquired 2 very cheap Chinese radios, a Bofang 17 and a Quenshang K5, so I've just been putting some frequencies in, and so far for change out of £15 for each one of them, I'm quite impressed. So that's just something to have just in case. Back to you, Greg, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar.
Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar, G4 and RC returning. Okay, you just gave me log as hell then. I think I got the spelling right for Quenshang. I totally lost the other one as I was having a little breakdown of how to log the pair. Yes, those frequencies, you don't even get the extra plastic. We know the radio modules inside are about €9 each, probably 7 in bulk. So, yeah, there's not a lot of space left on that pricing to actually account for assembly and anything else. For people who browse things of a YouTube persuasion, there was an hour-long video done over the weekend. I think it might have been Friday night. I think it was Ham Radio Tube in conjunction with the Smoking Ape. But they had an hour of running a lot of cheap radios through a tiny SA spectrum analyzer and finding they were a lot better than they used to be for their prior reputations. So I'm not sure which models were done. I was watching it when I got back from the works Christmas party on Friday night, which was late, so I didn't absorb too much of which ones were tested, but it might be worth having a look for that, Dave, and see whether yours was one of the tested ones. Or we can always try and do something locally. Right, Philip, Golf 4 Kilo India Lima, G4 and RC over.
G4 and RC, G4 KL, thanks, Craig. Yeah, what's a report? We successfully had our South Sussex RAYNET AGM last Tuesday, including before it a very nice and interesting tour around the fairly new, well, very new Horsham fire station and training facility there. They kindly showed us around. That was great. Well, as to say, APF net I probably won't again make this week, but possibly next week. That's the Thursday evening. I've got as far as thinking about when it's going to be in January. I'll have to look at that some stage. On the data for description, in terms of JSA, well, hopefully the notification got through on the redirector or the email about the information I had about running GS8 call on a Mac. Because I did join the group.io to get that, I got a notification that there's a JSA call QSO party, I think, taking place almost as we speak. I think it's a 24-hour from 7 o'clock last night to 7 o'clock tonight or something. So if people want to have a go with it, now sounds like a good time to do it. I think last week I said I might not be up for this next week. I think probably I will be. It looks like I'm going to have availability around this time of the day next week, so hopefully I will. And probably on the 24th as well, but I'll be absolutely sure on that one. I just assume it's taking place. Okay, I think that's it from me for the moment. So G4 NRC, G4 KIL.
G4 KIL, G4 NRC returning. Okay, glad your AGM passed off okay, and there should probably be a reminder there, though Mike does know that far better as well. If any groups do have their AGMs, especially if it involves changes in any officers, please do ensure that the national database is updated so that we get in contact with the right people for the right things at the right time. It is helpful. There has been some occasions, though, where we found out that people have been out of post for weeks or even months and the database hasn't been updated. So if that did change, then fantastic. JS8 call, at which point I now have to own up that, yes, those JS8 call QSO parties are every month on whatever this is, the second weekend of the month. And that's why the IARU Region 1 emergency communications activity periods happen at the same time. So I didn't send it to the RAYNET HF list today, slightly deliberately because I needed to minimise some problems. So between 12 and 2 today, it was the Region 1 emergency comms JS8 call activity period. And I was a little closer to identifying which country a station's from who doesn't have to put his call sign into the system. When we had a number of UK stations on, it was a little harder to figure out who was running correctly and who wasn't. But now I think I've nailed it down to a country and just got to find the victim. So yeah, that's probably my bad, but we should probably do something separate for the UK, then we can get our own bugs beaten out of the system, rather than trying to do it across half a continent. Okay, thanks for it. 2 to go on this turn, so it's Colin next. 2 Echo 0, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4 and RC.
Yeah, from 2E0 CMS. Good afternoon all. Not much to report this week. Got our Midway AGM on Wednesday coming up. Not anticipating any changes in the group. The only other thing that I've been doing the last few days is deciding to update the worldwide contacts lists in my Anytone and Radiodity GD88 radios. The Anytone wasn't too bad, but the Radiodity one, for some reason, after I downloaded the list and installed it, it didn't work. Well, the radio worked, but I couldn't view any contacts. I only showed the digital ID. So that was it took about an hour and a half to upload the contact list as well, which is excruciating to watch it slowly tick up on the screen. But I did a factory reset and tried it again, and it's had exactly the same result. And it's quite frustrating when someone's transmitting and you've got no idea what their call sign or name is. So anyway, I abandoned the usual CPS editor that comes with the radio oddity system. And apparently there's an alternative written by Mike 7 Delta Bravo Tango, which works a lot better and is a lot quicker as well. And you can also import or generate a contact list from the hand groups option, which populates almost immediately when you click the select all from everything. And it only takes about 45 to 50 minutes to upload into the radio instead of an hour and a half. So I'm pleased to report it's all working again now, so I'm a happy bunny. Anyway, I've got nothing else to report, Greg. Actually, I was going to say I'm going to start looking into the Arden stuff in the new year as well. See how we can get involved with that. But a little bit too busy with work at the moment to get involved with it now, so I'll leave that to the new year. Anyway, back to you, Greg. T4NRC 2E0CMS.
Zero Charlie Mike Sierra G4NRC. Okay. Yes, I've used both of the CPEs on the radio oddity. One kind of gets you going, and then Mike 7 DBT is much better because it does auto-populate repeaters and contacts. The thing I haven't yet figured out, because when you upload the contact, it is bringing forward now about 220,000 call signs or DMR IDs, and I think the maximum capacity of radio oddity is 250,000, so there's not a lot of space left. But I'm equally not seeing everything I expect to see, and I saw in some help guide that you had to kind of migrate from the big download into the smaller contacts list, the more conventional list, if you wanted to see anything. So I'm still playing with that radio. It may or may not turn into a Christmas mission as things happen. Okay, looking at Arden in the new year, I've seen a post from one of our German colleagues, the DARC, who's set up Arden again the way I'm doing it with Trevor and Graham. Play with the router and get the software side sorted out first. The RF can come later. Well, this German station is saying he's active via tunnels, and all I can see via Steve is American stations and a couple of Australians. I'm not seeing anything from mainland Europe, so I might reach across to our colleagues in Germany and see if there's a way of us accessing somebody a bit nearer, just to get a slightly broader network. Right, and finally on this Drew, Sierra G4 and RC over.
G4 and RC from M0FS. Okay, a couple of things. Interested in what you're doing with the GD88. I went with the Mike CPS almost immediately and doing really well and having no major issues. I also took the September, October update, which was later withdrawn, and I'm running that with no issues at all. And so far, I'm really very impressed with the radiology. It's become my preferred portable, especially because it does have dual receive quite nicely, which is nice to listen to two spots of 2E7FB. And I got so far, and then work intervened, and I haven't been able to get back to it. So, like the previous caller, that's probably going to have to wait until the new year. In fact, it might be as far as February when I've got a couple of customers that go live and like to come back to normal. The other questions I got, but I know this guy isn't on, so there may not be any way to answer it, is there a way to get free DMR to the RAYNET server? There's no bridge between 3DMR and Brandmeister that I'm aware of, and I didn't know whether there was any other in there. GB7FB moved on to the Southwest cluster down here a few months ago now on a sort of if you can't beat them, join them, and it's a really nice working cluster. But it would be nice to be able to call up the RAYNET server on slot 1. We've got 2 or 3 groups that now have access to the Southwest cluster, and very interested in how we might do that, but I guess it's probably a question for Guy, but if anyone else has anything, that would be really useful. Other than that, I'm going to make this my final. I've got to put tea in the dinner. Tea in the dinner, let me try that again. Tea in the oven from M0MSS.
Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, G4 and RC returning. No, I think that's one I can answer. If Brandmeister finds that we've linked to 3DMR, then we would get decoupled from Brandmeister. They do absolutely not want their network linked or piped through in any kind of way to the 3DMR system, so I think I've seen it a little too often on their support group, where if somebody does do this, then the end is swift. So on the balance of networks, staying attached to Brandmeister is the better one for RAYNET-UK rather than going to 3DMR, which has fewer repeaters actually accessing it. I know this is a regional thing. So, okay, good you out on that one. Hopefully you've answered that. But yeah, I think I'm okay with safely that answer. We have been asked that one before, and it's generally been in the too difficult bucket, but not for technical reasons. Okay, thanks Drew, and hopefully work distractions ease off soon. I've got similar problems with everybody wanting stuff done by Christmas. Right, back to the top of the list then for the second round. G8KLC, G4 and RC over.
Yeah, G4 and RC, G8KLC. I don't think anything to add. Not very involved in Arden at all at the moment. I'm just trying to see how if the group wants to move off of pure analog voice to anything else. Quite what the anything else will be, it's to be determined. But we get the input from the group to see where their interests lay, and see if we can develop on what most people are interested in. And hopefully with a little guidance it might come to something that can be used within the zone or even nationally. But it's early days and baby steps. I think that's probably what to comment on. Yeah, getting people to realise that when you have a main failure, it means you have no mains. It's always been a bit difficult. Slowly realising it. Had a comment from a user on a recent exercise where he's explaining people, we've got a mains failure. And the first thing they were doing was plugging their laptops into the mains. So it wasn't really following the spirit of the exercise. The idea was supposed to be, I think, that when the laptops ran out of batteries, that was another problem for them to solve. But they solved it by ignoring the guidelines. But other than that, I think we'll carry on listening. But that's number 3 is still all on one. And if we don't hear anywhere in the next couple of weeks, hopefully we will have an interesting Christmas and not spend too much time hiding in the shacks away from the family. G4 NRC, G8 KLC.
G8 KLC, G4 and RC returning. Yeah, next week's net should be okay. It's the 24th and 31st that we're still in debate about. Probably the 31st is the worst one. But yes, well, while people can still turn machines on, I think they're still there to play with. So, okay, with regard to getting people off analog voice, just the recollection, if the user services require encryption, that does pretty much limit you to DMR or M17. as the only two modes available on amateur radio at the moment which support encryption out of the box. So just hold that thought when you're having the discussions, because that's where the national strategy was heading towards, although M17 wasn't really growing legs then, but that was the driver when we did the tech survey 6 years or so ago. Okay, thanks Phil. Have a good week. Hopefully talk to you over the next couple. Let's go to Mike for a final. Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC from G8EY. Yes, interesting. When there's no power, yeah. Mind you find that these days some of the Amitone radios, they do have analog channels on there which can do basic audio encryption. It's not the best thing in sliced bread for encryption, but it does seem to work. Yeah, at RAGM there were no changes, so I don't need to do any updating. Only thing that struck me about the 17th, of course, is that the net follows on from the COM meeting, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out. From G8EY, and thanks for running the net, Greg.
G8EY, G4 and RC. It's just going to mean I'm having a long day, Mike, because there's a basketball game that day as well. So it'll be COM straight into net, straight into basketball. So that's what my 17th will look like. Yeah, we never tried looking at the frequency inversion audio encryption that exists on some other radios. We've had enough trouble with basic level DMR encryption interoperating with each other, let alone seeing if the analog side would work. So, yeah, in the log, which we'll have a think. Okay, it's 7-3 to you. Next to Dave. Mike 7 of Victor Oscar, G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC, Mike 7 of Victor Oscar. Nothing more to add this end, Greg. Just thanks for taking it out. And yes, it should be here next week. Yeah, my votes are open, as you say, for Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Probably will be about nothing planned if there is a net. Back to you, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar.
Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar, G4 NRC returning. Okay, log your beer up at the holiday nets. We will see how things transpire. Okay, thanks Dave. I'll keep it quicker because there are so few of us on. Philip for a final. Golf 4 Kilo India Lima, G4 and RC.
G4 NRC, G4 KIL. Yeah, and nothing else to add. Thanks for the contributions for everybody. I look forward to seeing you, to speaking again, hopefully next week if I'm on and you are. So G4 KIL signing, and I just listen until the net closes down completely. G4 KIL.
Yeah. G4KL, G4 and IC. Yeah, there was one further thing I needed to remind about, and that was, yes, while the JS8 called QSO party was how we timed the IARU events, so we knew there'd be more stations on to relay through. For the last couple of months, we have actually worked on the emergency COA frequencies from 40 and 80 metres, so the only stations you hear should be ones actually involved in the activity period and the exercise rather than strays. So whether that means, and I do have a meeting with the rest of the emergency comms coordinators next week, whether that means that we have a difference in times next year, or even if it carries on that way, I'm not sure. But I'll let everybody know what happens to the exercises when it's decided. Okay, thanks for coming on. Hopefully we'll hear you next week as well. That does mean the final word today goes to Colin, to Echo Zero, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, 2-0 CMS, last in the Greg for a change. I've got nothing else to add, Greg, so I'll let you wrap it up. So G4 and RC, 2-0 CMS, and Breezel.
to Echo Zero Charlie Mike Sierra G4NRC. Fantastic, okay, acknowledged. It's good to have Alan M0 JSA wasn't on. He'd be very afraid of being the last one to get called in. But it is the way, and we still had 12 checked in, so we're still teetering around 1% or so, in this case quite a bit under 1% of the membership on the nets. But we had 84 connected hotspots, 12 repeaters, and I've just counted the number of users who have registered on the system now. It's well over 300. So its activity is still growing, albeit a little slower than it was in lockdowns. Right, with that, I shall draw the net to a close, and thank everybody for taking time out of their schedules to participate this afternoon. Be careful, have a good week, and until next Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time, I shall close the RAYNET UK weekly activity net on 23531 Pheonix and Brandmeister and 5023531 on RAYNET UK, and return those talk groups to being an open net rather than a directed net. 730, this is Golf 4 November Romeo Charlie now closing and reversing.